So I'm going to talk today about the purpose of the book of Galatians. There's a reason and a purpose that Paul wrote this book, and a lot of people get the purpose wrong. It's not to say that there is no law, the law has been revoked. Christians don't have to worry about the law because we're under grace, and basically implying we can still keep sinning in mild ways, of course. But let's look what Paul says in 3:2 of Galatians. This, what I learn of you. Did you receive the Spirit by the works of the law or by the hearing of faith? Are you so foolish, having begun in the Spirit, are you now made perfect in the flesh? Perfect meaning fully complete in Christ. Well, that's his goal, isn't it? He said his goal was to lead them in to what's called moral perfection, Christ-likeness. And then he says this again to them in chapter 4, verse 19. He says, my little children, for whom I travail in birth again until Christ be formed in you. See, that's what he's talking about when he says perfect. He's talking about Christ being formed in them. And so actually he's not saying that there is no law, because in 6:2 he says, bear ye one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. See, there's a law, right? But what he's saying is you don't have to be circumcised and fulfill the law of Moses, because we're not Jews, we're Gentiles, and we're liberated from the law of Moses, and we're under a new law, which is the law of Christ. But it goes on to say, be not deceived. God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap. For he that sows to the flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that sows to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. So he's not saying that you can still keep on sinning and be under grace. He says, whatever you sow to, that's what you will reap. And this corresponds with what he says in Romans 6:23, the wages of sin is death, but he calls it here corruption. So corruption implies death. And then he goes on in Galatians 5:14, he says, for all